Okay.
But
Okie
the video
dokes.
quality's not so good.
That's okay. It's fine. The video is fine.
I have to get a better webcam.
So this week's it's okay. So this week's parsha is Mishpatim, which deals with all the little nitty-gritty laws in Judaism, all the do's and don'ts. It's like a lot of laws crammed. And I remember I was reading it and it didn't sound so inspiring. It was kind of like, this is what you should do. This is how you should treat your workers. And this is if somebody murders someone. And this is if someone steals, what should happen.
Absolutely.
And I was like thinking, like, how can I make this like more like I guess inspirational? And then basically my go-to place is stories. So I was looking, Yoel Gold is always the first guy that I try. And I found a story of somebody who really embodied the laws that it says. It was talking about your workers and how we treat the workers, not to oppress the worker, to pay your workers on time. And it said also if someone works for you, it's best to even pay them that day. There's a lot of different laws also about an orphan, to treat an orphan with extra sensitivity, and someone who's a widow to treat them with extra sensitivity. And I was thinking also like anyone with, a special needs child or basically anyone who has or anyone who's, let's say, born with a certain handicap. So I found these two amazing stories and we're going to share one of them. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Hold on, let's see. Were you able to hear it?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What?
I can hear you.
Were you able to hear when I just put it on or no?
Oh, no.
Let it run a little bit and let's see if we can
I didn't hear it.
You didn't hear it. Hold on. Let's see.
No. I hear your voice.
Did you hear it or no?
When you share it, when you
No.
go to share, you may have to click share audio.
Okay, I'm looking
There's
for
a
the
thing that
share
comes
audio.
up.
1 second. Why do I not see the share audio? 1 second. Let me get my husband. He's helped out with all that type of stuff. Allie? Allie? Where's the share audio? Okay. So where's the share audio button?
Click this. You have to press share sound. See this?
Oh, there it is.
And then you press share. But if you want, you can click that.
Okay, so let's.
You want to share the
Yeah, okay.
video?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. But Tati said he couldn't get it downloaded there.
So see this green box around
Yeah.
it?
Okay.
See this green box, Mommy? See like this green box and you
Okay,
can like, Mommy, see this green box like
Yeah.
around this? The green box is that they can only see what's in the green box. They can't see like the mess around the computer and everything else.
Okay, we'll start.
So now you
Okay,
could just,
thanks so
like-
much, Hannah, for your help.
And if you want, you can make it in big.
You
Okay.
have the best
Everyone
helper.
hear it?
It started around 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I can hear it
Did
now.
everyone hear it now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good.
Show me how you
Oh,
got my
Tamar's
face.
on. Hey, Tamar.
Yay. Hi.
You guys came just in the nick of time. We're starting with a story that basically
Wait,
this
what
is
am I doing?
Can you?
I'll tell you, Daria. Don't worry.
Wait, no, what am I helping with?
I'm. Can you
I'll
stop?
show you.
Turn on your video?
Yes, turn on video.
It's on. Do you see us?
Oh, it's on. We'll share the video in a
Mommy, should I
sec.
make this in big?
No,
okay.
but do you see?
Daria.
Yeah, wait, what?
So the
This is
story. I'll just give you a
share.
little intro to the story.
Mommy, this is
Okay.
No. My mom doesn't. Wait, what do you want? I'm so
Mushki,
confused.
can you see us?
Yeah, I could see you.
Okay, good.
So
That's all I wanted to know. Okay.
yeah. Daria, you ready for the story? So this week's Torah portion, it talks about lots of little intricate laws about how to treat workers and a lot of do's and don'ts. And I was thinking, how can we make this more meaningful and inspiring for us? So I found this amazing story. You guys ready? Daria, you ready for the story?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna share it now.
It was a spectacular general. Still, but you can still see the orange glow. It's just no way to quantify this.
On December 11th, 1995, at 8 p.m., a boiler exploded in the largest textile factory in America at the time, the Malden Mills. It burnt the entire factory to the ground. The fire was so big, it could be seen from miles away, and it took an entire week to put out the fire completely. At the time, Mr. Aaron Feuerstein, the owner, the CEO of the company, was celebrating his 70th birthday. In the middle of the party, one of the executives ran over to him and said, Mr. Feuerstein, there's a fire at the mill. By the time he got there, the factory that had been built by his grandfather in the early 1900s was mostly gone, which meant that overnight, 3,000 employees who worked at Malden Mills lost their job. As far as Mr. Feuerstein was concerned, he was about to collect close to $500 million from the insurance company. He was faced with the following decision. Either close the company and pocket the money, or he can rebuild the company down south and hire cheaper labor over there and still make a lot of money. Either choice would have been common practice amongst CEOs at the time. Everybody expected for Mr. Feuerstein to do the same. The next morning, Mr. Feuerstein called a press conference. Thousands of people were crammed and jammed into this huge auditorium. Senators, politicians were there. And in front of everyone, he gets up and he makes this stunning announcement. He pledged to rebuild the factory right here in Massachusetts, bigger and better than ever before. And not only that, he continues and he says, every single one of you will continue receiving your monthly paychecks until it's rebuilt.
All our employees will be paid their full salaries.
The entire place erupted. There was so much emotion. It was charged because people were so anxious and nervous up to that point, thinking they lost their livelihood. And all of a sudden, the saint of a man gets up and he pledges and he promises that they have nothing to worry about. News media outlets showed the footage of him making the announcement, and they also showed people waiting online afterwards to pick up their paychecks. It made national and international headlines.
You'll receive your bonuses and everything today.
He was interviewed by dozens of news media outlets, and they asked him, they said, why would you even do that?
My father, who was a very observant Jew, taught me, and I still remember his quotation, which was, Bimkom she'ein anoshim, in those circumstances where there is a moral vacuum, hishtadel lios ish, do everything within your power to be a man. And that's what he instructed his children to do, and that's what I'm trying to do.
The President of the United States, Bill Clinton, in 1996, invited him to the State of the Union and sat him next to the First Lady and honored him, calling him periodically afterwards to ask him for business advice, recognizing that here was a man who didn't see money as the end of it all, as the bottom line.
Some might have said the proper business decision for a 70-year-old guy is to take the $300 million in insurance and retire.
And what would I do with it? Eat more? Buy another suit? Retire and die? Huh. No, that did not go into my mind. That was not an option, not for a second.
I was only 14 years old when this happened. But recently, when I heard about it again, I wondered, is Mr. Feuerstein still alive? Can I interview him? Can I meet him? And maybe even can I get a blessing from a great man like that? I made some calls, and I found that he lives in Brookline, Massachusetts. He's alive and well. He hasn't given an interview in 25 years. He said yes. I took along my 12-year-old son, Shalom. We traveled to Boston. We came to the house of his granddaughter, Marika Feuerstein. He lives with his granddaughter, 95. Not a young man anymore, but completely healthy and completely with it. As I walked into his home and shook his hand, I could see in his eyes the wisdom, the life experience, and I was really excited to sit and talk with him. The first question I asked him, I said, Mr. Feuerstein, what gave you the courage, the strength to walk away from hundreds of millions of dollars and do what's right and treat the workers properly like human beings, take care of them?
First of all, the Torah. As a young man, when I read and studied the Torah, that showed me the way of life. That was very, very important. Lo sa shok socher, not to oppress the worker. You got a lot of workers. Not to oppress the worker, because he's an oni and an evion. We considered him a human being, not a pair of hands. And there's a difference.
He said my father was a great example. He was a big tzaddik. He also taught me to be a mensch.
My father was a tzaddik and had great influence over me. Today we see Orthodoxy prospering, but when my father was a young man, Orthodoxy was dying. And my father was the one who kept the Orthodox alive in Boston. The business was started by his father, Henry Feuerstein. He came over to this country in his teens, and he read in the Forward's Yiddish newspaper that there was a factory for sale in Malden. He went to see the factory. He knew nothing about knitting machinery, nothing about sweaters, nothing about anything, any product. He said, there's a place where I can go to shul, I'll be my own boss, and he bought it. And the business prospered, and by the time I got to the business, the Malden Knitting Mills was ranked AAA1 for credit, and they were worth millions.
I asked him about the employees when they returned to work at Malden Mills after it was rebuilt. They increased productivity by 40% without a wage increase, just as an expression of gratitude to Mr. Feuerstein and what he had done.
We had good employees. Many of them couldn't even speak English. But when treated like human beings, they were just terrific. They wanted me to succeed, and they increased employment without a wage increase.
Then I asked him a very difficult question. I said, Mr. Feuerstein, I know that eventually your company went bankrupt. Do you ever feel that had you not done that good deed and spent the tens of millions of dollars on the employees, paying them while the company was being rebuilt, did you ever feel like you would have had the money to continue going?
No. You have no right to defame God's name with your business or with your family, whatever your enterprise is. I was too enthusiastic. I should have gone slow. I wanted to go rapidly. And so I paid for it.
Something he was really proud of was the building of the Shul of Young Israel in Brookline in Massachusetts, and he kept telling me, make sure you go see the Shul. A beautiful piece of architecture.
I remember as a young man, it was a fight to get a minyan in the shul. I wanted to have a shul that was not in the basement. I thought that was a bekovedik for God. If you want him to dwell in the house, you have to make a nice house. So we put together the money and we built an Orthodox shul. And it's something that God could walk into. I feel like some of the Jews who went to the Beis Mikdash years ago, I'm in the presence of God.
I couldn't help but feel the entire conversation with Mr. Feuerstein was just an incredible experience. I was sitting in front of a giant. He didn't look to sound good or to look good. He just looked to impart the wisdom that he had gained over the years and that he had lived by. And finally, I asked him, Mr. Feuerstein, bless me, bless my son. I'm in awe of what you have done, what you have accomplished, the decisions you've made.
May God bless you and make you secure. May God see you through security intellectually, the most important. And he should give you, without all you do, the divine objective to spread Torah.
My son and I will never forget that interview, that experience. I said my goodbyes, we wrapped it up, we went back to LA. Shortly after we came back to LA, we got a call from the family. Mr. Feuerstein had passed away. I thought, if he hadn't given an interview in 25 years, why did he agree to do it now? I couldn't help but feel that Hashem sent me to Boston to do his story before he passed, so that the world can know.
ולא זכרנו שם קודשי ונקדשתי בסוף בני ישראל. I always kept in my mind that I should make it a Kiddush Hashem and not a Chillul Hashem.
That's really good.
Oops. Hello, what do you guys think?
A very profound video. It's really very touching.
Yeah. Hey, Daria, what did you think of the video?
A good example of a mitzvah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I was just thinking, like, this was someone he was, let's say, a multimillionaire, right? But let's say the average one of us, we don't make any headlines because we don't, make enough money to make those headlines, right? But so sometimes our actions are not going to be broadcasted and that everyone knows about it and the media will interview you. But I was thinking there was also another thing I was watching that was talking about children with disabilities. And someone went to the Lubavitch Rebbe and they said, they had a child and the child was autistic. Should they go to a special institution and the Lubavitch Rebbe said, like to give this child high hopes, like hopes of, see what they could accomplish and give them encouragement. And then like to really, really see what they drive them to accomplish. And that even, let's say, people who are born with certain whatever disabilities they have, to really try to encourage them to accomplish the most that they possibly could, to get jobs, to be high function, like they could get, if people believe in them, that they could be high functioning, they could, be very successful people in life. And then there was one thing that I thought was very interesting. It was just the Lubavitch Rebbe's wife's passing. And there was a situation that there was a woman, she had a Down syndrome daughter. And she said a lot of times people would go over to her and say like, oh, how's your daughter doing? Ask her questions about her daughter. And she said when Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka, when she spoke to her, she didn't ask her anything about her daughter. She just said, how are you doing? Like, I know it's difficult to deal with, let's say, a child who's, let's say, out of the realm of like, has any sort of special needs. And this woman said that like, she made her feel so important and so good. And she said like, she was always so focused on the kid, that sometimes she forgot about herself. She forgot about like, how am I doing dealing with this? Some days she probably felt overwhelmed. Like, this is too much for me. I can't deal with it. And other days she probably felt like, I could give my daughter encouragement. I could be a good mom for my kid with whatever difficulties she had. But she said it made her realize that like, as a mother, that like to take care of yourself as a mother, as the caregiver, that to take care of yourself. And if we feel good and we feel like we're encouraged and we feel empowered, that we could then be a better parent to our children. Or let's say a better caregiver if we are taking care of elderly parents or something. But this week's parsha talks about like that anyone who's a widow or an orphan to be extra sensitive to. And so I was thinking also with children, any children with disabilities, to have that extra sensitivity and the extra support for the parents. Does anyone want to share anything before we continue?
I wanted to talk a little bit more about the story that we just watched.
Yeah. Share.
I think
Go
that,
ahead.
I think that it was very moving, and I think that I love like how he carry like the tradition, like like he live like in this country, like, and he carry the Jewish wisdom.
Continue the melting pot.
And I like how
What
someone said, like most people at age 70, they would just pocket the money, right? It's like, you have enough money that like, you don't need to work anymore. You know what I mean? You could just retire.
He's not greedy, at least. He's not greedy,
it's like,
so.
it's true. I don't need the money, but He had
Mhm.
3,000 workers, and for all of them, it meant they lost their job. They wouldn't be able to support their family. So he was thinking, yes, I
Exactly.
personally don't need the money, but if I could continue paying my workers and have a job for them as soon as the company's rebuilt, then all these 3,000 people, which is not just them, it's their entire family.
Yeah, but I like his
Sorry
I
about-
like his commitment, like beside the people that he kind of like felt like it. He carried the Jewish value. Like, he
Right,
carried like, okay, this is
Mhm.
my obligation. You know?
right. And it
He
was
kind of like he
it is-
felt it. He felt it like the obligation through him.
right. Something that permeated him, that he lived with.
Mhm.
And I was thinking whether, and for us, like to follow, let's say in those footsteps, to follow in, let's say, the sensitivity to, let's say if someone does work for us, whether it's a babysitter, whether it's someone helping us with cleaning, whether or someone works for us, or like, I don't know, the way we interact with other people, if they're like, to always be sensitive to another person's needs. So he was sensitive to his workers' needs, but there's other people we get in
Mhm.
contact with that to be sensitive to whatever it is that they're going through in their personal life, whether they lost someone in their family, whether they lost a parent, a spouse, or, you know.
Or they just had a bad day, like both the same day.
Yeah,
Sometimes we have a
sometimes
bad
we
day.
all, that's true. But that's also one thing about Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka, it's my namesake, is that she was always very careful with other people's feelings. That there's not so much that we know about her, because she was very discreet. She would help people in a very discreet type of a way that most people don't even know, like what she, like all the people that she helped. But one thing that people always say, like I watched a few interviews, is that she was always like so caring about whatever they were going through in their own life, and like would ask them questions, you know, how's this person in your family, how's that person. There was one story I recently watched that there was a woman who had came from Russia, and she had 2 children, and she came to deliver something to the Rebbitzin. And when she came to deliver it, she asked her, you know, how are you doing? How you know, did you just come to the country? And she said, yes, you know, she just came from Russia. And she was like, oh, that must have been really difficult to travel. And then she said she has 2 boys, and she looked like she had like a look on her face like there was something troubling her. And the Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka asked her, she's like, is something bothering you? And she said, yes, actually, my mother was just diagnosed with terminal cancer, stage 4. And she asked for a blessing for her mother. And the Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka told her that, she's like, don't worry about your mother. Your mother will be fine. Hashem will bless her. And she just said, and are your kids in yeshiva? And she said, yeah, my kids are both in yeshiva. And she said, anyways, her mother ended up living for another 25 years after that.
Wow.
So people think, oh, you know, the Rebbe gives blessings, like the Lubavitch Rebbe, everyone knows about all the stories, but there's so many little inside stories of like that, like some of them are even just coming out now, of like people that Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka helped. Yeah.
I said Yesha Koach Mushki for you. The rabbi's wife, right?
Well, I have a big name.
We know that you have a you have a healing part. We know it. Right, Mushki? Come on.
I could give anyone a blessing, but it's going to be just the same as anyone else's blessing. But I guess there's always a power of one Jew blessing another. So
I think that we all have like a healing part, but
yeah. Well, I think also like just also being there for another person when they're going through a hard time also helps with the healing process. Like sometimes if, you know, you're there for someone when they need it, then it also helps with the physical healing. Like there was a student of ours actually that she said one day she like suffered from neuropathy, that she just, her legs just wouldn't work. And I figured out which hospital she was in. She was in San Diego, and it was actually near a friend of mine who's I don't know that many of the Chabad Shluchim personally, but it just happened to be that the hospital she was near was, my friend lived near there. So I called her up. Her name's Chaya. And I said, you know what? We have a student of ours from Humboldt State University, now Cal Poly, who's sick in the hospital. And I said, like, could you bring over some like challah and grape juice? So she brought her over some things and like a little care package for Shabbos. And afterwards she posted on Facebook. I spoke to her about like thinking positively, because like she posted some really negative stuff on Facebook. And I spoke to her about trusting Hashem, thinking good, thinking positively. And a little after that, she posted like some nice things, like, oh, look at this beautiful sunset I found right outside of my window. I saw right outside of my window. And a little while later, 2 weeks later, she was already starting to walk down the hallway with a walker. And then a few weeks after that, she left the hospital to go live by her father. And like the nurses were like, there's no chance of recovery. There's no chance of anything. So, and I'm just a regular person. I'm not any big Rebbitzin. I'm not any big business owner, but just a regular person being there for another person.
Maybe something was in the challah good, but you see, it's comes.
And I didn't even personally bring anything. I just contacted, I figured out who was there. But just one person caring about another person, has a big impact.
Things that we should pray. I heard today that I don't know if I'm supposed to say it in a public, but Mike's wife, I heard that she's in the hospital.
Mike Ryman's wife?
Yeah.
Boy. Oh, it's good to know. I will.
Yeah, but I don't really want that it's going to go that it like I said it, okay? But I heard it today. Okay, so I don't want that I hear that you hear it from me, okay?
Okay.
Because I don't want it like kind of like to spread kind of thing, but I heard it.
Okay. We should hear good news.
It's not like that it's Lashon Hara, but it's something that I don't want that it's like if it's a private thing, but just that we pray, send, we can say kind of like pray good things in our heart, okay? But I don't really want that it's going to be spread, okay?
Yeah. Well, we heard that, so we'll all keep that in mind. We'll daven for her, and without spreading it. I also wanted to share. There's some laws in this parsha about it says if someone steals, they should pay back double. Someone finds something, let's say that belongs to someone, that we try to give it back to the owner. It says like a lot of little details, but I wanted to share a little story that one time there was my sister-in-law. Yeah.
Wait, I'm muted or not? I don't know.
Oh no, I hear you. My sister-in-law, she went to a seminary in Israel called Neve Tzion, and she said that she heard this personally from one of the girls there who was with her. So she said that she was not so interested in Judaism, and she was a very spiritual person, and she went to India. She was going to go to India to basically to search for meaning in life, and she wanted to discover Buddhism. And one of her sisters had gotten involved with Judaism, and her sister told her, she said, you know what? Okay, you're going to this place in India to learn about Buddhism. Why don't you first discover Judaism? Like we never really got a Jewish education growing up. Like, why don't you go to Neve Tzion for a little bit, and then after that you can go and try to discover Buddhism. And she's like, no, I'm really not interested. I think Judaism's like a whole bunch of lists of do's and don'ts of all these rules, and I don't think it's for me. Like, I'm more spiritual. I'm really more interested in something spiritual. And her sister, I guess, was a little bit persistent, and she said, I'll pay your ticket if you come to Neve Tzion for just a day. And she's like, fine, if you pay my ticket, then I'll go for one day. But after that one day, I'm going to India. It's going to be she'll make a stopover for a day in Israel and then go to India. So that was the plan. And anyways, she went to Neve Zion, and lo and behold, exactly what she had thought was exactly the case. Judaism's a whole bunch of lists of do's and don'ts. She goes into this class. It was a rabbi speaking. He was extremely monotonous. And he was talking about all different laws of if we find something, trying to find the owner and returning it, like a whole bunch of different laws. And she said she left the class feeling like, okay, I understand. I agree with him that, to try to return things and to try to figure out a sign, to figure out who's the owner. But like, it wasn't inspirational in the slightest. And she's like, okay, now she's going to India. So she goes to India, and she goes as part of a certain program, and there's a lot of meditation, and the person who was speaking had a lot of charisma, and she just felt like, yeah, this is the place that I want to be. Like, this is it. This is what I'm looking for. And meanwhile, it lasts for like a few weeks, and then afterwards, she's just going on a little walk with I think he's called the Dalai Lama or something, like the head of like the inspirational speaker guy. I don't remember what he's called. And she's going on a walk with him. And lo and behold, she sees something on the ground. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's a wallet. And he looks at it and he's like, you're right. He picks it up and he's like, oh, if I found this wallet, then this is meant for me. This is, God meant this for me. And she's like, nuh-uh, you have to return that. That belongs to somebody. Go check inside to see who it belongs to. And he's like, I don't have to do that. And she realized after that, she's like, that was that one class. She's like, I didn't know much about Judaism, but like that one class that that boring rabbi was speaking, it was actually like he was talking about returning lost objects and that your responsibility in trying to find a sign and contacting the owner. And she's like, he ended up keeping the wallet, I think. But she realized, she's like, you know what? I think I'm going to go back to Neve Zion. Even though this was really inspirational, really wonderful, I realized this was really not right. So she went back to Neve Zion. She said she did have... Yeah? Hold on, I can't hear you.
Are you talking about this portion?
Yeah, so
because last week it was Yitro.
So this is Mishpatim, all the laws.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so this is one of the laws. It talks about like, returning lost objects. It talks about if someone stole, they have to pay back double.
Right.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different laws. But she said after, there were some inspirational speakers, not all of them. The ones about Jewish law were just like the do's and don'ts. And that's the one that she happened to be listening to the day that she came. But she said, when we live our life according to these laws, that yes, we may not feel inspired. We may not feel like, so awesome or whatever, but we know that we're doing what's right. We're doing the right thing. So, and in the end, when we do what's right, other people could get inspired by us when they see that we do what's right, even if it's not easy or, a little bit on the difficult side.
Mushka, you're going to do it every week?
On 5:30, yeah. So we do it every week. Sometimes it's virtual, sometimes it's in person. Some people only do virtual, some people only do in person.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I'm so happy that you joined us, Tamar.
Yeah,
and Daria was here for the story part.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, that's great.
I think that everybody get what they get,
Right. Yep.
I think that it was really moving.
Good.
I think that Daria is more, it's hard for her that she see me tearing when I was tearing. Like, I think that it's like, this is made her run away.
That means that actually when something.
It's okay, but like, you know what? It's, I think that she's going to remember both stories that,
right.
That she remembers the stories that you share, and she's going to remember that her mom, like tear from the story. It's okay. Yeah. And I'm going to remember that you ran away. and the story too.
And then there was also So it also talks in the part that says that if someone stole something, they need to return what they stole, and they have to return double. And it says if someone can't afford to, let's say, imagine someone stole something and they can't afford to pay back, then it says that they're a slave to that person. So whenever we hear the word slave, it kind of like makes us like feel that irky feeling. Like we know how badly slaves were treated in history. But then if you look in the Parsha to see what does it say about the slave, you realize they're really treated like a regular worker. They said with the same thing that the owner eats, he has to give the same food to his slave. So if he's eating steak, he can't give his worker like, just some beans and mashed potatoes. Although here
doesn't he have to give it first? Doesn't he have to give it first?
What?
I thought
it
about
doesn't say first or
if it's
second, but it says the same food that the owner eats, he has to give the same food to his slave. And then he said,
but this is Sefer Shmot, right?
Yeah,
we're still in numbers.
Yeah,
it's in Exodus. So we just, like, does a law start like already now?
What do you say?
Because last week it was the 10 Commandments.
Right. Last week was
yep. So this is right now we started with all the laws.
This parsha talks about all the laws, yeah.
Okay.
And then it also says that the same, if the owner has like a comfy bed and a sturdy bed and a comfy pillow, he can't just let his slave sleep on like a piece of straw on the floor. Like, oh, he doesn't need a good bed. He's just my slave. No. The same bed, the same type of bed or mattress that you have for yourself, you need to do the same thing for your slave. And it talks about all these different things about like how we treat them with so much respect and dignity. And basically what happens that after the person, he could only work for the max 6 years, and then the owner has to let him free. But at the end, he feels like I'm a respectable individual because he's been respected all these 6 years. So he's like, I'm not going to go just steal again. But if you think about, let's say, like jail time, what happens if someone steals? A lot of times they go to jail, right? How are they treated in jail?
Right.
Like they don't even exist.
Bad.
Like what food are they given? Horrible food. What bed are they sleeping in? I don't even know if they have a bed. Like what exactly they give them to sleep on. How do they talk to them? What language do they talk to them? Probably really, really rudely. I'm assuming. I've never been there, but I'm just assuming like that they probably don't treat them with like respect and dignity and honor. So then what happens? They go out of jail and they're like, oh, no, my actions don't make a difference anyway, so might as well just steal again. Like they don't feel like a respectable human being. But what the Torah says is even someone who did something wrong, or I'm thinking even let's say your own child you found out took something from you. I'm just giving an example, like how to make it practical. Like how do we treat that child?
Yeah.
Treat them with lots of dignity and and then teach them the right way. And hopefully then they'll be treated with so much dignity and so much respect that they won't want to fall to that behavior. Like you're better than that. You can do better than that. Or whatever it is that your child did that was wrong, whether stealing, whether speaking what they call chutzpahdik, like with a little bit of sass or whatever to you, or whatever it is. Sometimes when our kids, let's say, don't have the best behavior, it triggers in the parent, like I want to punish them. Like I want to to show them that we don't act like this. But the Torah says, no, treat them with even more dignity. So hopefully then they won't want to do that not good behavior again, which it's not easy to do. I remember Ellie once said that one of our kids was like not sharing, and she was like hogging all the toys for herself. And anyone who tried to touch a toy, she would say, no, they're my toys. And first I was like, you have to share, you can't do this. Mommy and Tati buy the toys for everybody. We're all in a family. And then Ellie comes in, he came in from his office and he was like, oh, you like all the toys? Let's give all the toys to that kid. Let's share other stuff. So he started sharing some food from the kitchen with that kid. And then after he's like, oh, you know what? I have this delicious thing in the this delicious treat. I want to share it with you. And I'm like, what? Are you rewarding bad behavior? And then after I realized, and then Ellie was like, oh, do you see how good it feels when someone shares with you? do you think you could share those toys with your sisters and make them feel really good too? And the kid was like, yeah. And I'm like, whoa, I've never seen that parenting tip before. But so sometimes like we feel like we want to punish the kid who's not, did something wrong.
They
It's like,
came
oh, this
from
person stole, let's
outside.
treat them horribly. It's like,
He came from outside, like, it's come, like, he didn't really see how annoying the kids was before. I'm joking.
no, because sometimes as a parent, like we do get really frustrated, and sometimes it's like we get triggered ourselves, and like we don't always think about what's in the best interest of the kid. We just feel like, what do I feel like? I feel like if that kid wasn't sharing, I should just show the kid what it feels like when you don't share. Maybe I won't share the food in our house.
That's funny.
Yeah. And then the Torah talks about not telling a lie and to tell the truth. And I know also, I remember there was this one therapist, and he said that he was talking to a parent, and the parent said, my kid is like a professional liar. Like sometimes like in 5 minutes, he'll lie about 5 times. And the therapist is like, really? Like, tell me, how does the conversation go? And he asked his son, he said, did you brush your teeth? And he said, yes. And he said, well, then why is your toothbrush dry? And he's like, I dried it after I was done brushing my teeth. And then he kept on after like just having to lie again and again and again. And finally the therapist goes to the father. He says to the father, and he said, can you tell me something? He said, what would you do if you asked your son if he brushed his teeth and he would say, no, I didn't, Dad? And the father said, well, I would get angry at him and say, why didn't you brush your teeth? What were you doing for the past hour? And he's like, oh, no wonder why your kid lied. He said, he's afraid of you. He's afraid that if he tells the truth, he won't be safe. So he said, if your son, he said, make your son feel safe. And I'm sure he'll be able, when he feels comfortable to say the truth and you're okay with it, then I'm sure he'll stop lying. And the father was like, oh. So sometimes, we ask a kid, like, did he do your homework? And they were just, fooling around for half an hour, and you asked them half an hour ago to do their homework and they still hadn't done it yet. Or maybe you asked them 2 hours ago. But it's important that we want to teach our kids not to lie, but also that they should know that we value telling the truth, even if we're not happy with the results of the truth. Even if sometimes the truth hurts. That no, our kid did not do their homework. No, our kid did not brush their teeth. But that we're okay with that.
Do your girls get homework at school?
They do get homework, yeah. And some kids we got to be really on top of, and other kids it's like they do it anyways. But every kid is different, so. Yeah.
Where is my little friend? Where is she right now?
Which little friend?
Devora. Yeah.
With Ellie right now. Now's my break time. When I give a class, this is like relaxing for me.
Yeah.
This is my relaxation time.
Yeah.
Let's see what else happened in this week's parsha. And then, okay, so that's basically, it talks about when we borrow something to be careful that, to return it in good shape, or we compensate the person if, let's say, we borrowed something and we broke it. So that if a person by accident, like if he has a field and the field goes on fire, like he's responsible for whatever it burned. And also if a person has an animal, let's say, that can possibly hurt a person, that they have to be careful that their animals, let's say, like, is on a leash if they're ever in a public spot, so someone else doesn't get hurt by it.
How is it transition from last week from Sinai? How is it
Last week we
transition?
got the Torah, and then this week is all the little details.
Okay.
And it talks about also that obviously we should be careful not to hurt anyone, but it said that a person should be especially careful not to hit their parent and not to cause their parent blood, but their blood should come out. It said that some people were even careful. The Gemara tells us that the great Torah scholar Rav, he wouldn't like have his son even remove a splinter in case like the blood comes out like that.
Oh my God, Daya just left, you know, she should have heard this.
Oh, this is also really important. There's a rabbi who's a psychologist. His name is Shais Taub. And he actually said something very interesting about this. He said that when our child does something wrong, it's important to tell them, I forgive you. That if we forgive our child for what they do wrong, then they have more of a, like they feel like they have a clean slate and they feel like they can do better next time. But if a child feels like, oh, I'm never going to make my parents happy, like I'm not good enough, then it makes them like lose hope and have worse behavior. Like I remember sometimes like sometimes, you know, when a child does something wrong, we feel like we want to punish them, but like if we tell them right away, I forgive you, like I know you could do better next time, it's gonna help them actually change their behavior. Like to know that their parent forgives them, even if whether they were annoying to their brother or their sister or to us or whatever they did, to know like, you know what, I'm not so happy with that behavior. I forgive you though. I know you could make a better choice next time. And it said actually that a child that like makes his parents bleed and causes harm to his parent, it said that we put the child to death. And it sounds like Rabbi Shais Taub was like, whoa, that's really, really severe. But Rabbi Shais Taub, he explained it and he said that basically if a child is treating their parent that way, hitting them, causing them to bleed, causing them to, let's say, you know, probably break bones, that child is going to end up like the parent has the responsibility to help their child before it goes and gets worse. Because what's going to end up happening is a child who acts like that, if it doesn't get worse, if it doesn't get better, they're going to end up in jail. They're going to end up murdering others. Like if that's how they're acting when they're 10, you know, causing their parent to bleed and causing, you know, their parent a lot of physical harm, then probably when they grow up, they're going to end up being a murderer and like, you know, a thief or murderer, and end up getting in trouble with the law. So it said that it's not to this thing of put the child to death. It's not like it said that it actually never happened. It never happened actually. The Beis Din had to put a child to death for causing his parent to bleed. And it said that if the Jewish court killed a person once every 70 years, it was considered like a murderous Beis Din. But what is this to show? It's really, this is something that the parents need to know, that if our child is doing that to us, let's say is causing us harm, is causing us to bleed, we have to get immediate help. Like we have to get help for this child so that they don't end up, let's say, getting in trouble with the law and doing worse things. Like that, because in the end, the child's probably going to end up getting in trouble with the law or not being alive themselves. So.
Mushki.
Yeah.
I don't want to be rude, but I have to go because
okay, we're done anyways.
Okay, I'm really thankful for you for giving us the teaching.
Good. I'm so happy that you came.
Okay, and I'll try to make it in the calendar that I can make it. Okay. Thank you. Good. This was very sweet. Bye to everybody.
Yeah. So
nice ladies.
I'll just end on a positive note. So basically, if our child does something wrong, that it's important to forgive them and let them know, I forgive you. And then our child has a better, will change their behavior for the better.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right. Good night.
Bye.
Yeah, so it is. I know it's only 6:26, but I think we did finish. There is just one video if you want to watch of how the Lubavitcher Rebbe dealt with like autistic kids and stuff like that. This was way back in the day, and like the revolutionary approach. Do you want to watch it before we end? It's a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See if I could find it. I am so bad with computers. Let me get one going. 1 second. Or let me see if I could. Oh, here it is. I found it. Okay. Okay, and then I have to 1 second. You guys probably can't hear it yet, right?
A little bit. I can hear it.
Are you able to hear it or no? Let's see. I never know where the share sound is. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here. And then, hold on. There should be share sound somewhere.
Yeah,
Where's the share sound?
next to the stop video.
Hold on, let's see if
Problems of
do you hear it now?
development from Down
In
syndrome
between
children.
stop video and
Do you hear it now or
participating.
no? Did you
I can hear it.
Did you
Yeah, I
hear,
can
hear something or no?
Not now. Earlier, I was able to hear it.
Okay, let me see.
And I must say, they believe that people with
now,
genetic
You hear it?
disorders, chromosomal disorders,
You hear it? Okay, good.
can be turned into high functioning and close, very close to study, to Yiddishkeit, etc. I read it very much from the rabbi. It was a daring thing, because at this time, people didn't believe it's possible.
When my daughter Zlati Esther was born in 1961, autism was totally unknown at the time. When she was born, I was overjoyed. She was a beautiful, beautiful full-term baby. However, by the time she was 18 months old, she was sitting and crawling, and she looked like a very happy, content baby. She wasn't walking yet, and I was a little bit concerned. So I went in for a neurological test. And the neurological test was inconclusive, but they categorized her and defined her as autistic. I was bewildered because I had no idea what autism was all about. My pediatrician knew nothing about it.
Children or individuals who have mental or a combination of physical and mental impairment weren't being institutionalized. They were just being warehoused, custodial care. So I corresponded with Rabbi Schneerson. I said, how may we view this issue from a Jewish perspective?
So I remember coming to his office, and the Rebbe motioned for me to sit her down on a chair. The Rebbe let me voice my concerns, what was going on. And then he took out of his desk a sheet of paper and a pencil and pushed it across the desk towards Zlati. And she automatically, without giving it any second thought, picked up the pencil and started scribbling on the paper. And the Rebbe had this big, big, broad smile on his face. He was absolutely delighted. And he said, "Ich weiß nicht, was mir macht der ganze Meise da." Gave me some suggestions what to do. One of them was to place her in a regular kindergarten or nursery school in the neighborhood. And then he told me to go see Dr. Schick. I think the Rebbe felt I could do a lot with this child. And that gave me the courage to teach her a lot of things and make her quite independent.
What he was saying very clearly again and again and again is that we, even for the most severely impaired, that you have to have expectations for improvement.
This is a group of special children that I teach. We all meet on Sundays and we learn Yiddish kind of brachas. Can you give them a bracha?
There is a bracha for all the group, and everyone of them will give to charity on his own, for this money. It doesn't matter, bless you, to lead them in the right direction.
It is important that the trainees themselves should be encouraged, both by word and the manner of their training, to feel confident that they are not, God forbid, cases. Care should be taken not to exaggerate expectations through far-fetched promises. However, a way can surely be found to avoid raising false hopes, yet giving guarded encouragement.
Well-meaning people told my wife to take Yossi out of the house because blind, deaf, hyperactive, trying to raise a family of young children was pretty much impossible. You couldn't put a glass on the table, you couldn't put a vase on the table. Everything was plastic. You had to protect Yossi against himself, other children from Yossi in terms of his rambunctiousness, and he was full of energy. At night she would cry and say, Ribbono Shel Olam, God, I'll never take Yossi out of the house, but if you ever decide to help my Yossi, I will dedicate my life to helping other mothers who are struggling with their children with disabilities. We came to New York looking for medical help. My uncle, Dr. Herschel Samuels, talks to me about having an interesting new patient, Mrs. Schneerson, very bright woman. I said, Uncle Herschel, are you talking about Mrs. Schneerson as in the Lubavitcher Rebbe's wife? He said, yes. I said, you know, Uncle Herschel, if you could get me a blessing from the Rebbe, it would mean the world to me. While we were standing with the Rebbe, Yossi was running around. You couldn't control him, and the Rebbe kept giving him nickels. And Yossi would run 2 steps, 3 steps, and throw away the nickel. And the Rebbe would give him another one, and he'd do the same thing. And we were dying. We were so embarrassed. And the Rebbe said, "Lost him. This is a gesunde tchuna. Leave the child. This is a healthy quality." I really can't go into the Rebbe's mind, and we didn't ask what his intent was. But in seeing what developed, his tenacity, that just like he took the nickel from the Rebbe, you know what? Boom, another one and another one, and that's it. Yossi has never stopped, and hopefully he'll never stop.
Das leider ist nicht gesund. Wenn man sagt, dass in Englisch, das ist Autistic.
Autistic.
Er ist zurückgeblieben
Wie alt ist er?
er ist 22, er wird bald 23 Jahre. 22 Jahre. Er ist in England in einer speziellen Institution in London, eine jüdische Institution. Wir haben keinen gebracht von Amerika, aber davon eine Woche, man muss sie einfach schneiden.
Just him validating that she had possibilities, that gave me tremendous hope. And if you have the hope and you have a special child, you can do ever so much more.
Every possible emphasis should be placed on the tangible and audio-visual aspects of Jewish education in terms of the actual practice of mitzvahs. It would give him a sense of belonging and attachment. Even a subconscious feeling of insecurity would pass into the conscious state, especially if the teacher will endeavor to cultivate and fortify this feeling.
Sagen hat die Autistik dann mit Liegepschaffen, sondern mit Kindern gescheit es nicht, sondern mit Menschen gescheit es nicht. Also mit Lebischen ist die gescheit es funktioniert bei anderen und noch mehr. Man sagt nicht vernommen mit Menschen,
Wenn sie vernommen
wenn sie vernommen mit Lebischen.
Interessant ist, ich habe einmal probiert mit ihm lernen, sozusagen eine Woche. Und das ist schon gesagt.
Hat er ja gesagt?
Ja, gesagt. Und er bekannt ist bei ihm, als er halt das bekannt ist.
Er hat das gesagt, nicht, was ich im Sinne.
Nein.
Sie konnte doch heranstellen. Und dann ist eine Sache, was er ja gesagt hat, wenn es und es war ein halbes Verwendung, dann noch schaffen, ich kann ihn dann besuchen. Dass der Mann, die was besuchen, dann haben wir gehabt, der nicht so.
Nothing ever stopped Yossi. Not then, not later. At the age of 20, he lost his ability to walk. Today, he's 43. He wanted to ride elephants in Thailand. He rode elephants in Thailand. He wanted to be, he has an amazing sense of smell. He wanted to learn to be a sommelier, a wine professional. His wines, called Yossi, went on sale in Israel. Yossi has never given up, and I believe, in retrospect, that that was the quality that Ebba was talking about.
In Daikin Nation, Mahashem Shenesing Lemishahu, Shahu Nechi, Shazahu Mada, Mashahu Nechisus, Vierido, Kim Adra Betzorich Lahadikish, Ozer, Shahu Mashahu Miyuchot, Umitsuyon, Alidei Bere Odom, שנוסן לכיכס מיוחדים יסיירים על מה שיש לו להודו מן השורו.
Our understanding of the other is very much affected and related to our understanding of ourselves. In the way the rabbi understood the condition of the individual, and the way he claimed and suggested and felt empowered to say, yes, do it. There is a very different way of seeing the human being. Not as a just reflection of yourself, but as something which comes be'ara dilela.
That was really amazing.
That's the end.
I like it.
Yeah, I watched that and I was like, wow, that was very empowering. Because sometimes,
Yeah.
like we all either know of kids or have, whether it's kids or older parents that it's hard to take care of, to try to, see them in the positive and see what they could accomplish and not just see what's their deficiency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Good. How are you doing, Joy? How was
Doing great.
Yeah.
Doing good.
Baruch
It's
Hashem.
cold today, but it's good.
Edith, are you still on?
I am.
How are you doing? How was your week?
My week, it's a lot. It's okay. I'm extremely wiped out.
Ah.
I had a lot of I went down to UC Davis last week. Had a procedure Monday. And I'm wiped out. It's okay. I'm just wiped out.
You're in the healing process.
I am very much in the healing process. Yes. This was
Speedy
right on
recovery.
right on point. Right on point. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I actually, just yesterday, like my eye's been really good for a long time. And then I guess
Has
two
it?
nights ago, Ellie came home with this cold brew coffee. And I'm like, oh, that looks so good. And I drank a cup of it at night, which was very stupid of me. And I was up to like 5 a.m. I couldn't fall asleep. I'm like, this coffee gave me so much like adrenaline. Like I couldn't fall. Usually I'm wiped at nighttime. Usually when the kids are in bed, I'm like, I'm going to bed too. And then I guess it affected my eye. And the next morning I woke up and I was like, oh no, my eye was like all red and like hurting me. And even today it was like bothering me a little bit. And I'm like, should I give a class? Should I not give a class? And then I was like, you know what? The Torah is going to help with the healing. So I'm just going to give a class. I have to lay down a little bit because my eye was bothering me.
Oh, how are you feeling now?
So it's
Is
bothering
it
me a
better
little
now?
bit, but it's better than yesterday. But I still had to lay down a few times because it was like bothering me. I guess usually when I just do like moisturizing drops, it's fine. But I guess if I don't sleep at night, it kind of.
Yeah, you probably just.
Yeah, sleep is it can be everything because body heals when we sleep.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it gets dry sometimes when it happens to me sometimes with my eyes when it's so dry and I don't get enough sleep. It bothers me. And then if I get enough sleep, then it's fine.
I also noticed like
I
when
guess
I
you
took a
just have to
shower, I
relax
felt
your
so much
eyes.
better. Like the humidity in the shower.
Yeah.
Your eye feel better also.
Yeah,
After I
yeah.
took a shower, I felt a lot better.
Mushki, do you do warm compress on your eye?
So I do drops every few hours. The doctor told me to do moisturizing drops. So usually that works. I guess it was just the not sleeping.
That helps. Yeah.
Yeah, my mother-in-law said something very interesting. She said, I was like, every time I go on a plane, my eye would like flare up. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. Like, and my mother-in-law was like, it's probably also the dry air on the plane. She's like, if you need to take a drop every few hours, if you're not on a plane, if you're on a plane, maybe take it like every hour. I'm like, oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's tough.
Yeah. But anyway, feel better, Edith?
So yeah,
so
my vision
we're on
also
our
is a little
way.
bit on the blurry side. Well, let's dive in for each other.
Oh, yes.
And feel better too, Muski.
Thank you.
But I'm glad you had the class. I made it.
Me too. I'm happy I did it. I said it'll bring healing.
Me too. You bring
Exactly.
light and joy around you, Mushki. You do.
Thank you. Thank you for
You
coming.
do, yeah, it's true, Mushki.
Thanks.
It's true. So anyway, thank you, Mushki. I better leave now.
Have a great week.
And you
Oh,
too.
yes.
Shabbat shalom.
Yeah. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Take care. Good
bye.
night.
See you next
Okay,
time.
bye.
Yep.
Good night.